Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. If this is your first College Spotlight series, I see some new names, then welcome. If you've been on one of these before, you'll notice that I'm in a new setting. I was in the Outer Banks of North Carolina for the past 2 months in a nice, sprawling house, and now I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey, in my tiny, cramped apartment. So sorry for all the mess behind me, but sometimes we have to get back home. And I am very happy today to have Providence College on board with us today. Patrick Brennan is the admissions counselor. I believe he covers the state of New Jersey or parts of New Jersey, since there's a lot of people that apply from the state. I'll let him introduce himself in a bit. He's also a 2011 graduate of Providence. And I like to say that's a recent graduate because we're the same age and we know the same people. But I guess depending on who you ask, maybe it's a former graduate, but I think that means we're officially old. So I'll just say recent graduate. And he's going to talk to you today about academics and the admissions process and what they're looking for in an application and how students can really thrive at Providence College in the capital of Rhode Island. He also sent out a link for everyone to sign up for their mailing list. I believe, that's to find more information. They might track demonstrated interest for all of those who are wondering, but I'll let him explain that. And he also has a student who will be on to talk about the student life at Providence. And as always, we'll answer all of your questions. I won't answer them. Jared and Patrick will answer them. So please send them in. And I think that's it. I will have Patrick come on.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jenna. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. And we're going to go with recent graduates, I think. I think that's, I feel
9 years ago, we both graduated, but
yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I mean, we have a thing at Providence for if you've graduated within like the last decade, it's called Friars of the Last Decade, the Fold. So we're still part of that. So I'm going to go with recent. I think that makes me feel good. So
we're doing my alma mater tomorrow, so I'll use that same line.
Oh, fantastic. There you go. Even better. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and chat with you, chat with the attendees here. Like Jenna already mentioned, I am a Providence College alum. I graduated in 2011. I'm actually originally from the great state of New Jersey. So I grew up in Monmouth County, found my way to Rhode Island for college, did I got my master's degree when I graduated, worked for a year in admissions at a school in New Jersey before coming back to Providence. So I have spent about the past 6 years back at Providence College, working for the school in the admissions office. And I really enjoy and love what I get to do, talking to prospective students about not only Providence College, but also just the college search in general. It's something that I'm really passionate about and really love that opportunity. So I definitely can handle definitely give some of the background of Providence College, what my experiences were like as a student. But even though I am a recent grad, some of those stories are a little bit older, as they say, and maybe not as current. So that's one of the reasons why I brought with me Jared, who's going to pop on the screen in a little while to kind of share just a little bit of introduction about who he is and some of the stuff that he's been involved in, talk about his major. And hopefully the two of us will then be able to answer student life-based questions, but then also questions related to the admissions process and things along those lines as it pertains to Providence College. So we have a kind of a great day or a great little time spent together outlined here. I'm going to kind of begin by talking about Providence College in general, run through a couple different aspects of the school. And then, like I said, I'm going to bring Jared on so he can kind of share his story a little bit. And then we'll leave time for questions and answers at the end. So please keep thinking, start thinking of some questions that you really want to know, and we'll be happy to to answer those for you. So give me a second while I share my screen so that this way I created a little presentation for you. So this is Welcome to Friartown. So I think it's important to, as you guys are beginning your college search, is to think about kind of Providence College, and where to begin is kind of like our location, because you're not only exploring the college campus itself, but you're also exploring the surrounding area. So for us, we are located in Providence, Rhode Island, which, as Jenna mentioned, it is the capital of Rhode Island. I think what a lot of students don't necessarily realize, though, about the city of Providence is that it is a really creative and artistic city. There's just so much that our students can explore, can utilize, and it also is a really big college town. There's 5 other colleges right within the city of Providence, so it kind of has that flavor of like a younger city vibe to it. And also the colleges that are kind of located within the city of Providence are all very different. So we have Brown University, Rhode Island School of Design, Johnson and Wales University. Roger Williams has a campus close by, Rhode Island College. Even Bryant isn't that far away. So all of a sudden now, you're having the ability to kind of interact and see students from all over the world, and all these different colleges right within the local city of Providence. So when you look at, the city, it's definitely a smaller city. For some of you who, might live close to New York City or Boston or DC or Chicago, those are, we tend to say larger cities, right? Providence is not necessarily a large city, but it has a really great opportunity for our students to engage in, important internships. They kind of use it as an extension of the classroom to kind of take what it is that they're learning within the classroom environment and apply it to that real world experience. So through internships, research opportunities, shadowing opportunities, and 4 of the 5 different hospitals right within the downtown city of Providence, our students are having the ability to, continue to explore and the service component of giving back to the community and seeing what it is that they can do to make Providence, the city, that much more enjoyable or that much better, and kind of impact the lives of people around them. So the city of Providence is definitely an extension of our campus. We are not located, though, right in the downtown city of Providence. We are kind of located about 5-minute bus ride away. Students can get from our campus to the downtown city of Providence using the public buses for free with their student IDs. So I think it really is a fantastic way to kind of have that extension, to be able to have that city life if that's something that you're looking for, but at the same time have that kind of campus community that is outside of the city. So I like to say we're kind of the best of both worlds. I'm a little biased, I know, but I really do think that lends itself to some really great opportunities for our students. So when you're talking about Providence College, the campus, it's a campus that you can walk from one end of the campus to the other in about a 15-minute walk. It's about 100 acres, but what does that really mean? I mean, I don't even know. I think the best way to kind of describe it is it's a walking campus. It's not something where you're going to need to take a bus or get on a bike or take a car to go from your residence hall to your classroom. Like, you're going to be able to walk everywhere on campus and see people. And I think when you look at the size of our school, we're right around 4,000 undergraduates. So we're kind of that smaller, tight-knit group that we really emphasize that opportunity for students to get to know faculty and professors on a first name basis. Our average class size is right around 20. So we want that ability for our students to connect with their fellow peers, but then also connect with their faculty members, their professors. So our student to faculty ratio is about 12 to 1. And we don't have any teaching assistants on our campus. So we focus very heavily on the undergraduate experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why our students are utilizing the city of Providence for those research opportunities, for those internships, because they're not competing against graduate level students to kind of get those opportunities. They have that ability to do so on the undergraduate level. So, we're kind of, we can be described as a smaller to medium-sized school. We are kind of located close to the downtown city of Providence. We are a Division I athletics program, so we definitely have that strong sense of school spirit. It's something that a lot of our students have a great pride in, our black and white, which is our school colors, whether it's going down to the Dunkin' Donuts Center in the downtown city of Providence and cheering on our men's basketball team, or just being right on campus in Schneider Arena and cheering on our men's hockey team or women's hockey team. There's so many different opportunities for our students to show their pride and be involved in that component. Even if you're not the most athletic individual, just being there to cheer on the fellow Friars and be with your friends, watching us play, Villanova or Georgetown in basketball, or playing Boston College in hockey, like, there's just a certain excitement that kind of surrounds that environment. But no matter what, even if you're not the most, once again, like into sports component, there's so many other ways for our students to feel active and feel a part of the campus culture and the campus community that exists at Providence. So I think you're going to find your home at PC. It's something that we talk a lot about, is that sense of community, that sense of friar family. It's not a cliche saying, it's actually like a genuine component that we really emphasize, and we want our students to kind of feel all throughout our campus as much as possible. So, when you look at the campus itself, we might be considered, similar in size, or we might be similar as like a Northeast Catholic college to maybe some of the other schools you might be, looking at. But there's definitely some unique, identifying factors that we believe are kind of make us stand apart. And I think the first part actually is our Catholic identity. We are a Dominican-run institution, and why I think that is unique is because we're actually the only school in the country that is run by the Dominican friars. So right then and there, we're one of a kind. We're kind of unique in that component. And I think that the Dominican friars, they kind of create a sense of community that exists on campus themselves, because they want students to feel welcomed, and they want students of all different backgrounds to feel like they can thrive on our campus. So you don't necessarily have to be Catholic to come to Providence College. You don't even have to be religious. We have students who are of all different faiths, of all different backgrounds, and we have students who are not really religious or spiritual at all. And I think what the Dominican friars believe in is this word called veritas, which means to seek the truth. And they believe that everyone has that pursuit of truth. They have that inside themselves. So they want students to continue to be transformed when they come to Providence College. So they can do that in all facets of their lives, whether it's mind, body, and spirit, if they so choose. So the Dominican friars kind of believe in this pursuit of truth. And in order to pursue that truth, though, they believe that faith and reason are compatible. It's one of the reasons why, we have this liberal arts core curriculum at our school, which I think is another unique identifying factor of Providence College, because our liberal arts core curriculum is meant to really expose students to maybe some material that they've never been exposed to before in their high school career. It's meant to have you ponder, have you question, have you engage in those meaningful discussions, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, on this pursuit of truth. And our liberal arts core curriculum is going to expand and cover a lot of different disciplines. So if you're coming in and thinking, oh, I want to be a science major, or I want to be a business major, well, that's great. We want you to study those different areas, but we're also going to encourage you to take classes like philosophy, ethics, theology, your fine arts. And what we're hoping to have you do is maybe pick up a minor, pick up a second major. Basically, you don't know exactly what it is that you might be interested in studying if you've never been exposed to that material. All of a sudden now you might come up with a passion that kind of is ignited by this opportunity. So that's really what our liberal arts core curriculum is meant to do. But at the cornerstone of our liberal arts core curriculum is the development of Western civilization program. For short, we like to call it CIV on campus. CIV is a 2-year program that every freshman and sophomore must complete. It essentially goes from ancient Greece to present day and covers the 4 different disciplines of English, history, philosophy, and theology. It's one class that you'll be taking for your first 2 years at Providence. So it definitely is the hallmark of a Providence College education, because it is something that every single student who has come to Providence College has taken. And as alums, it's one of the first questions we ask when we come back on the campus is, what's new with CIV, or who are your CIV professors? The program has obviously evolved and changed throughout the years. There's a lot more influence of Eastern civilizations into this program as well, that different Eastern perspective, and how that growth of civilization really came to be. There's also now a colloquium that is the second semester of your sophomore year, and that colloquium is a little bit more geared towards what it is that you might be interested in studying, as maybe as a business major, science major, psychology major. So you have a little bit more choice when it comes down to that colloquium, which I think can be really unique and really effective and important. I think when we talk about the CIV opportunities and the CIV program that kind of exists at Providence, it kind of lends itself into our student engagement when it comes to the academic environment, the academic classroom environment, and the fact that academic excellence is something that is really important. And it's why we have, once again, that extensive liberal arts core curriculum for our students. But our students, are doing phenomenal work on campus. They really are. I mean, I know I touched a little bit upon like the research opportunities that exist, at the undergraduate level, because we're focused primarily on that component. But it's research that you can do during the academic year. You can do it during the summertime. There's grants actually that students apply to for the summer where they actually get their housing paid for and they receive a stipend to stay on campus and do research. The ultimate goal of completing research is to hopefully get yourself published with a professor conducting that research, and then maybe go speak at conferences or at different research opportunities. So I think that's, some really great components that kind of exist to that. Research is only one aspect though. I think the engaged learning component is really that internship or that student experience. If you're a teacher, that having that ability to go into a classroom and teach, I think is really vital and really important. And then we have like that global education piece, that global education study abroad. I know it's a little hard talking about global education with a global pandemic kind of going on right now, but it is still something that our students are taking advantage of. I mean, right now, obviously, everything kind of got put on halt for this upcoming fall and the end of the spring. But in a typical year, we have about half of our junior class who chooses to study abroad at some point. They can either do a summer, a semester, or a full year program. We have over 300 programs worldwide that students can choose from. So there's really no limitations to that. If you're going to be a student within our School of Business, you'll actually be required to do an internship while you study abroad. So I think that's a really important aspect to kind of highlight. Some of our science majors, they might be looking at other schools and they might not have the ability to study abroad. At Providence, we encourage all majors to study abroad, even education majors. We have opportunities in both Italy and Ireland where students can have that student teaching experience either in an Irish or an Italian classroom. So once again, we want our students to grow, and we think global education is a fantastic way for them to do that if you're interested in it. And there's just so many resources that are available to you. For some students, the liberal arts honors program is something that's really attractive to them because it is a high excelling aspect. It's the top 10% of our freshman class. There's no separate application that you have to do when applying to Providence, but it really is a big component of our campus, and it really does do a phenomenal way to kind of bring students who are like-minded together, that high achieving, component. Some benefits of the liberal arts honors program is going to be the peer mentoring program that happens, the specific guest lectures that they bring in for the students within the liberal arts honors program. And then they have specific spring break trips for students within the liberal arts honors program that would, allow you to go to maybe Europe and go with a professor. And it's kind of more of an educational trip, but it is something that is very fortunate and something that a lot of our students will take advantage of. So, when it comes down to programs of study, you're looking at Providence, we offer close to 50 different majors that students can choose from. Some of our more popular programs are going to be within our School of Business, the School of Science, specifically our biology program, education, psychology, history. But we have some fantastic other opportunities that exist, like public and community service major, our global studies major, our health policy and management major. I mean, those are some more unique programs that I think that we offer that are just really fantastic opportunities for our students. And hopefully you'll take the time to kind of explore that. And the other thing I should really mention is about 25% of our students coming into Providence College are undeclared. So they're kind of undecided when it comes to that environment that kind of exists on our campus of like what it is that they want to study. So the going in undeclared, you have about a year and a half to take some different classes and really, focus in on hopefully by the end of that, what it is you really want to study as a major or as a double major, as a major and a minor. We have a lot of really different grade advising components that kind of are associated with that. So I know I focused a little bit more on the academic side of things because, you're coming to college to get an education. And I think, getting an education is something that is really viable and it's something that's really important. But the environment that you're surrounding yourself in is also equally as important. And, for us on campus, I use the word community, that sense of friar family. That's something that is really important to us. But it also something that we want to stress is the fact that we're a diverse, inclusive, and a welcoming environment for students from all different backgrounds. And I think that's really important for our students on campus. And it's something that, I've seen a lot of growth and development when it comes to our campus in this regard, but we are a predominantly white institution. So that is something that, our students, I want to make sure that our attendees are available, or that know about us. When it comes down to, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the Office of Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion does a phenomenal job of kind of creating some really great initiatives for our campus to kind of help them grow and help us all come together and understand different backgrounds and different cultures. Recently, about 3 years ago, we renovated a building on campus, Moore Hall, to become known as the Center at Moore Hall. And this space is really dedicated to allowing students to connect through intellectual inquiry, different cultural experiences, and really the arts from people of all different backgrounds. So you can actually see a couple of the different pictures on the screen right now that kind of really highlight that opportunity for our students to continue to grow, once again, to be transformed, to maybe engage with students from different backgrounds that they've never had the opportunity to do so. So really creating that inclusive environment is something that we're really working towards at Providence, and it's something that when we say that friar family, we want all students to kind of feel that way at our school, because getting the students to participate and be actively engaged in our community is something that is really important to us. And I think that's another unique aspect of our campus, is that when you talk to our current students, you're going to see that they're involved in 4 or 5 different areas on our campus. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about student activities because I know Jared's going to come on and he's going to talk a little bit more about that component. But it definitely is something that you're going to see there's over 100 different clubs and organizations. We have cultural groups on campus underneath our Board of Multicultural Student Affairs. We have the arts, like 3 different a cappella groups, dance groups. There's opportunities to get involved with WDOM, our radio station. There's service under campus ministry. There's so many opportunities. But then there's also like other opportunities to kind of get involved through intramurals, to get involved through club sports, if that's something that you're interested in. So there's a really active community that kind of exists at Providence, which I think is really important and really beneficial. So I think when you talk about that sense of community, and hopefully you got a little sense of the academic side of things at Providence, what I want to do before I bring Jared on is just talk a little quickly about the application process and how it pertains, to Providence. So don't mind me, but I'm going to skip ahead a little bit on this presentation because I want to be mindful of the time. So when you are looking at Providence College, because you've heard a little bit now of what makes Providence, in my opinion, so great, you're thinking, okay, well, how do I get here? And, what is this process like? So for us at Providence, we review holistically. So we're a member of the Common Application. So what that means is you would apply through the Common App to us. We're going to look at all the different pieces of the puzzle and how it relates to you as an individual and as an applicant. All those different pieces of the puzzle kind of come together to represent who you are. For us, the biggest piece of that puzzle is going to be your high school transcript. The high school transcript allows us to see what classes you've chosen to take throughout your 4 years in high school, and also how well you performed in those classes. The reason why we spend so much time on this is because we do 2 things to your high school transcript. We recalculate your GPA onto an unweighted 4.0 scale. And the reason why we do this is because it seems like every single high school out there has a different grading scale. So it really is important for us to kind of be able to kind of put everyone onto that same level and see that same grading scale. But we also assign a strength of curriculum rating. And that's where it's a little bit different than other schools in our review process. Our strength of curriculum rating is something that we really emphasize. It's something that is really important in our review because, yes, performing well in classes is very important. but also what classes you're choosing to take is very vital to how we review applications. So for us, we're looking at the 4 years of the 5 core subject areas: English, math, science, history, and foreign language. Most students will opt not to take a 4th year of a foreign language. So we're going to look to see, okay, well, why did you choose to do that? Did you double up in a math or science-based field because that's what you're really passionate about or what you're interested in studying? What were the decisions that you're making is something that is really important to us. So the honors, AP, IB, higher level courses that you're choosing to take throughout your high school career will kind of be reflected in that strength of curriculum rating, which once again is really vital and important to our review process. So after we assign that strength of curriculum rating, we recalculate your GPA, we now move on to that extracurricular side and see, okay, how have you been a leader at your school? What have you been involved in, not only in your high school, but also your local community? Because we want students who are going to be active members of our community as well and continuing to move Providence College forward and really making it a strong impact. So that's why we spend time looking at that extracurricular component. Then we'll look at your college essay. I'm sure you're working very hard on the college essay, so I won't spend too much time on that. We do have an optional supplemental essay that I strongly encourage you to complete. If you're thinking about applying to Providence, I think it really is a great way to spend that extra time to show why you think Providence might be the right fit. We have 3 different choices this year, and you would choose one. Really nice variety there, so you should be able to find something to write about regarding to the optional supplement if you want to. We require 2 letters of recommendation, one from a counselor and then one from someone else. We chose not to do a letter of recommendation from a teacher or require that this year because we know that the spring semester was interrupted and we're not really sure what the fall is going to bring for many students. So we felt like maybe forming that relationship with teachers could be a little bit more difficult at this point. So definitely, if you want to submit a letter of recommendation from a teacher, you're more than welcome to, but you can also use a counselor, a coach. You could use a coach, you could use someone who's in service if you do service, an employer, things along those lines. And then the final piece of our puzzle is going to be the test optional component. For us at Providence, we've been test optional for close to 13 years now. So we firmly believe in the test optional policy for both admission review and scholarship review. So what that means, if you choose not to submit your test scores, then they won't be used against you or it won't hurt you in our review process. But if you do choose to submit your test scores, your SAT or your ACT, then we will utilize them in our review process. So we give students that ability to make that decision up front. So once again, if you're choosing not to submit your test scores, that's perfectly okay. But once those scores are submitted to us, then we will utilize them in our review process. Hopefully that will relieve some stress and anxiety surrounding the tests right now, because we know that there's a lot of issues going on with the SAT and the ACT. So hopefully that will put your mind at ease for any students who might feel a little anxious at the moment. You'll see our application deadlines are there for you. I'm not going to go through the differences between EA, ED, or ED2 or regular decision. If someone has a question, I can definitely go through those at that point if you want me to. But I can say that we receive close to 11,000 applications every year. About 6,500 of those will probably come through early action. Another 4,000 will come through regular decision. And then the remaining students will either apply early decision or early decision 2. So you can see that early action tends to be our highest volume. And that's because a lot of students are moving through this process earlier and earlier every year. And the benefit of applying early action, you can apply to multiple schools, as you all know, but then you also find out by like the holiday season in that late December, beginning of January timeframe. So I think for a lot of students, they feel really confident, and it's a really great ability to kind of have that information before you even get midway through your senior year, for example. So there is some really great opportunities that exist. If I would say that if you would like your senior year grades utilized in the review process at Providence, then applying regular decision might be the best bet, because when you apply through early action, we're looking at your first 3 years of your high school career, freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and we're looking at your senior year class schedule. Typically, we won't really have first semester grades available in November to kind of look at your senior year grades. So that for that case, or for that reason, if you want senior year grades utilized, then it might be worth applying regular decision at that point. last thing I'm going to talk about before I bring Jared on is just kind of financial aid and scholarships and how it pertains and how it works at Providence. For our merit-based scholarships, there's no separate application. Students are more than welcome to submit. Once they submit their application, they'll be automatically reviewed and considered for merit-based scholarships. Roughly about 25 to 30% of students who receive a merit-based scholarship from us every year who've been invited. So they are competitive, they are selective. We're looking at that strength of curriculum rating that I was talking about before, that recalculated GPA on an unweighted 4.0 scale. And if you choose to submit your test scores, then we are utilizing that in the review process. So the profile for someone who received a merit-based scholarship from us this past year on average was someone who typically had, maximized the curriculum available to them. So maybe an AP in every core subject area. They had typically a 3.9 on an unweighted 4.0 average. And if they chose to submit their SATs, it was around a 1400. The ACT was about a 31, 32 ACT composite score. The reason why I share those numbers is because those statistics are very different than like our averages. Your average SAT is probably right around a 1250 to gain acceptance. The ACT is probably around a 29 or a 30 for the composite score. And you're looking at like a 3.6 on an unweighted 4.0 scale for average acceptance. So that SAT or the scholarship information is definitely a little bit more selective and a little bit more heightened at that point. But we also have our need-based financial aid where we require both the FAFSA and the CSS profile to be submitted to us. So there's some really great opportunities to receive a PC grant, which is money that doesn't need to be repaid. So we put more of our resources and funds into the need-based side than we do the merit-based component. So that definitely is something to kind of know. And then lastly, we do have a merit-based, we have a multicultural scholars program at our school, which requires students to submit the FAFSA, the CSS profile, and an application to be considered for that. So students, we give out roughly, 50 full tuition scholarships every year as part of that multicultural scholars program. So there's some other opportunities like an art scholarship, music scholarship, and a theater scholarship for those students who are interested in majoring in one of those three areas. There's either an audition or a portfolio that's required that you might need to submit in order to be considered for one of those scholarships. But those are some different ways to kind of make Providence College a little bit more affordable. And I strongly encourage students to kind of utilize that net price calculator so that they can kind of see what it is that they might be, how affordable PC might be for them. The net price calculator is a tool that's every college in America is responsible to have on their website. So it definitely can be a really great resource for families. I think at this point, I think that's enough of me talking at you. So what I want to do is actually bring on Jared for just a couple minutes, just so that he can introduce himself, and then we'll turn it over to some question and answers, if that's okay, Jenna. Perfect. All right, Jared, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. So my name is Jared Abella. I'm going to be a junior this upcoming semester at Providence College. I'm from Haverhill, Massachusetts, and I'm a marketing major film minor. And what really drew me to Providence, what Pat was talking so much about, was the whole community aspect of the school. And from the moment that I first stepped on the Providence College campus, that's something that I definitely saw right away. I saw, professors interacting with students and students interacting with students. And for me, I saw how engaged everyone was, and I wanted to be a part of that same Friar community. So for me, to be able to get involved in the different clubs and organizations on campus is what really makes PC home for me. Now, Providence College is a school with over 100 different student-run clubs and organizations. So there really are a bunch of different clubs for every type of person. For me, some of the things I'm involved in include being an admissions ambassador, where I'm able to, share a little bit about my PC experience with other prospective high school students. They shadow me for a day, and they really get to see what it's like to be a friar. I take them to one of my classes. I take them to Raymond Dining Hall, and it's really great for me to be able to, see the light in their eyes glow as soon as, I take them to a real college classroom or to a real, college dining hall setting. On top of being an ambassador, I'm also involved in orientation, which I'm very passionate about, being able to incorporate these incoming freshmen to the Friar community and give them the resources that they need to be successful, and not only be their leader, but be a friend that they can reach out to even after orientation is over. So for me, that's a very special thing I'm involved in, and I can't wait to start that again in the next coming weeks for the incoming class of 2024. So that sounds very strange. So on top of those two things, I'm also involved in the board of programmers on campus, which students abbreviate to BOP for short. And essentially what BOP does is they put on the large events on campus, such as spring concert, black and white ball. And then we also put on a bunch of different small events throughout the week. So we'll have, events such as like bringing a magician to campus, which is one of the best events that I went to this past year. So fun to interact with the magician and, get the whole campus together and involved in the whole Friar community. So it's really special to be able to, bring the community together in that aspect. On top of those things, I'm also really involved in volunteering on campus. So Providence College does offer a bunch of different volunteering opportunities for the students. And under PC's campus ministry, there is a plethora of different opportunities for students to get involved in with volunteering. For me, I'm really passionate about Habitat for Humanity. I got involved with that my freshman year and did a service trip to Bridgeport, Connecticut. And my sophomore year, I decided that I wanted to take that extra step and become a Habitat for Humanity leader. And I was actually able to lead a group of 12 Providence College students down to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for spring break. And it was an amazing opportunity for me as a sophomore to be able to lead my first trip. So it was so special to me, and I can't wait to do it this upcoming year. And on top of Habitat for Humanity, I also volunteer through My Brother's Keeper, which is a nonprofit Christian organization based out of Dartmouth, Massachusetts. And essentially, students are able to go down there as many times as they want to throughout the week and volunteer and, deliver furniture into the homes of people's houses who really need it. So for me, it's really great experience to be able to get off campus and help the community, and, really make an impact in someone else's life. And you see the expression right on their face when you deliver them a brand new sofa or a brand new couch. It's so heartwarming. I got all my friends and my roommates involved with it. And it's a really great way to, share your, what you're grateful for and really get involved in the community outside of Providence. So it's a really impactful thing for me, and I'd recommend it to anyone. But at the end of the day, I just truly love how engaged the Providence College community is, and how that sense of community is really vibrant no matter where you're on campus. I'm the type of person who will talk for hours. If you let me, I'll talk to a brick wall. I mean, just ask any of my roommates or any of my friends, they'll be the first to tell you that I never shut up. So for me, to be able to walk anywhere on campus and, see a friendly face, it's so warming to me. And I feel like I'm at home the moment I get back onto campus. And that just goes to show not only between the students on the campus, but also the professors. All my professors know me by my first name, which I think is really amazing. I'm not just a number in a class. I really do have a voice. So to me, to be able to, raise my hand in all my classes and ask meaningful questions, it really benefits my education and my learning. And those same professors that I have in class, I'll see them walking around campus and they'll ask me how my day is going and, if I want to get coffee or if I want to grab a bite to eat at Raymond Dining Hall. So that sense of community is so strong at Providence College, and that's what I truly love most about the Friar family community, is that whole sense of engagement and community. So I absolutely love being a Friar, and I can't wait to get back there in the next coming weeks.
Perfect. Thanks, Jared. I really appreciate you sharing your student experiences. Obviously, you've done a lot, so it's great to have you with us, tonight. But I think we'll turn it over now to answering some different questions that hopefully have come through that we might be able to touch a little bit more on, whether it's student life related, admission related, or just Providence College in general.
Jared, I have a question for you. What other colleges were you thinking of applying to, or what other colleges did you apply to? And then why did you choose Providence in the end?
Yeah, so when I was a senior in high school, my but what I was mainly focusing when applying to colleges were big state schools. So I thought I wanted to go, to a big school with like huge D1 sports, a big football team. And that's just what I had my mindset on. I have a big personality. So I thought that's what I would, do well in that type of environment. And what they always say, your parents really know what's best for their children. And my dad was actually the one really pushing Providence College. He had a bunch of friends that went there when he was in college himself, and they all talked so highly about the academics and the student involvement. And my dad really thought that I would thrive and do well in that type of environment. And, to make my dad happy, I applied to Providence College Early Action, and I found out that I got in on December 17th, 2017, which seems so long ago now. And I remember that day because I had a track meet and I did so bad at that track meet. Absolutely awful, blew it. I got home so frustrated. My mom had the acceptance package waiting for me at the kitchen table. So it was really amazing for me to see what Providence College was like, because it was the only small liberal arts school that I applied to. I applied to, University of North Carolina, UMass Amherst, Clemson, and Providence was really the only smaller school that I looked at. And I instantly fell in love with the campus the moment I turned onto Huxley Avenue and saw Chappie Hall, Davis Hall, Raymond Hall. And again, what I was talking about earlier, just seeing everyone out and engaging with one another. I didn't really notice anyone on their phones texting. I really saw students interacting with other students and faculty interacting with other faculty. And that whole sense of community is what really drove me to go to Providence College. And I remember that same day I first went to campus, I actually sent in my deposit. And it was by far the best decision that I've ever made. I love PC so much. I could go on all day about it.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the social life? Some of my students, say there's no Greek life, there's no football. And I always dispel that because it's, from what I hear, so much fun, lots to do in Providence, great basketball, great hockey. So I guess you want to talk a little bit about like a weekend activities and things to do.
Yeah. So, as was mentioned before, all the students on campus are so heavily involved. You'll never meet anyone who's not involved in at least a couple things on campus. So definitely the student involvement on campus is where you truly get that sense of community. And I know for me, I always thought that I wanted to go to school that had Greek life. And I'm actually thankful that Providence College doesn't have Greek life, because for me, I feel like I get that sense of community and sense of family through all the different clubs and organizations that I'm involved in on campus. So, to be able to see my friends from admissions, see my friends from BOP, orientation, my friends that I volunteer with, and then, you have that big Friar family at the end of the day. It just truly brings about what the Friar family really is on campus. And that's so meaningful to me that I can, and be involved in all these different types of organizations on campus and just interact with so many different types of people. And at the end of the day, we all are one true big Friar family. So I think that's what's so special about Providence College, is how the students are so engaged in all the different organizations on campus. And, they want to be engaged too. So that just really goes to show the type of student that is at Providence College. And, on the weekends, the Board of Programmers really does put on events for students to get involved on different things on campus here, not just, going to the gym 24/7. I know I spend so much time in Concannon Fitness Center, but there are great opportunities for events on campus. I was talking about the Magician that BOP brought to campus this past semester, but we also put on larger events such as Clam Jam, where we bring, a bunch of different food trucks on the campus, and there's a bunch of different games and a bunch of different vendors on campus for students to interact with. And aside from that, Providence, the city as a whole, is a great place. I know if you're like me, I absolutely love coffee. I get iced coffee every single day of the week. Just ask Pat. He knows that I'm always drinking iced coffee at our morning meetings. And when I'm home, I'm definitely a Dunks type of guy. But when I'm at school, I'm always getting my LaSalle coffee. And LaSalle's right off campus. It's easy to walk to. But the city as a whole, there's plenty of different great restaurants. I know I go over to Federal Hill a lot with my family when they come to visit. But aside from that, I definitely go over to College Hill, which is near the Brown University. A bunch of different great little shops. I know I love Dave's Coffee over there as well. So whenever I get off, like on a Sunday with my friends to do some homework off campus, we'll go over there. So you're never bored in Providence. There's so much to do. I would always go to, the pedestrian boardwalk that they just built this past year, I believe. And I'd go on runs down over there by the rail trail, which is so awesome. It's so beautiful. You're right on Narragansett Bay and on the water. So much to do. And with the RIPTA, you really do have access to everything. So with your student ID, you have free transportation all over the state of Rhode Island. So as amazing as Providence College is as a campus, you are open to the entire state of Rhode Island to explore.
Okay. We do have some questions. I think a little bit more of them are for Patrick. Do you receive any weight if a parent attended Providence College?
We don't necessarily give you like weight or anything along those lines, but what we do is we do recognize the fact that there's, students who are applying, they might have had siblings or parents that have gone to Providence College. So we'll definitely utilize that as part of like our holistic review process, but it's not necessarily something that we're going to automatically give you like extra bonus points or anything along those lines. But it is something that we ask on the application if you or if any of your family members have attended Providence, if they've graduated from Providence. So you'll have that ability to, on the PC member page, which is the member page is associated with the Common App. So it's a Providence College specific member page that once you click Providence College that you're applying to it, it populates on the Common App. And I'll list you a couple different questions, and that is one of the questions that's on there. If any of your siblings or any of your family members have graduated from Providence College. So we definitely will document it and utilize that as part of our review process for sure.
And now, does Providence track demonstrated interest?
We don't track them. I mean, it's a great question. I think that there's a lot of buzz around the word demonstrated interest, in general. We don't necessarily track demonstrated interest in the sense that, we're looking to see, okay, how many times have they logged on to our website, or how many times have they attended like an event or anything along those lines. What we're doing with what I always like to say when it comes down to the topic of demonstrated interest is in our minds, or in my mind at least, anytime a student has the ability to engage with us, whether it's through a virtual high school visit, an info session, a tour, an open house, what that's doing, talking to a current student, what that is doing is allowing that student to see, okay, do I fit here? Is this a college that I can really grow at and I can really thrive and be at? And all those different touch points, I think, are really great ways for students to see if that's really true and that's a good thing for them. The other thing I think it allows, if they're more specific touch points with like myself or another admission counselor, I think it just allows us to do our job better. I mean, honestly, like just as Jenna or other counselors are going to advocate for the students who are applying to our schools, once we get your application, and if I'm reading from, as Jenna mentioned, different parts of New Jersey, and I'm working with a student and I've seen them at a high school visit, I've seen them at a college fair, I've interacted and emailed back and forth with them, well, now they're a little more familiar to me. So when I get into that committee on admission review session where I'm sitting in a room with 15 of my colleagues and we're talking about students and we're trying to fight for those spots, well, I feel like naturally, if I have a relationship and formed a relationship with someone, I probably am going to be able to do a better job advocating for that student than someone that I've never even met before. So once again, it's not demonstrated interest in the terms of like, okay, plus points and bonus points for doing like a checklist, you've done all these things. It's more of that relationship building. And I think those benefits that can really formulate from that.
And now, Patrick, are you doing interviews again this year?
So we do interviews. We do them in person, but right now we're doing them virtually. So they're virtual interviews that are available online. You can either interview with an admissions counselor like myself, or we have a group of what's called senior fellows. So they're trained seniors who are conducting interviews during the summer, and then they do them again in the fall as well.
Okay, and then are you using the same optional essay question that you did last year, or are you changing it?
No, we actually changed them completely. So if you are interested in finding them before they, I guess technically, I think Common App goes live, August 1st, I think. Yeah, so you can actually just, if you search on our website or Google Providence College supplemental essay questions, you should be able to find them, because this year there's 3, whereas last year there was 2. So if you come up on something and you only see 2 essay questions, then you're not on the right ones. They're the ones from last year. So we added we tweaked the questions and we changed them and kind of added a fun third question, which is kind of cool. So I'm interested to see which students will answer that third question.
And everyone, you have 3 options. You don't have to write 3 essays.
Yes. No.
Or everybody leaves the webinar.
Yeah. Sorry. There's 3 choices, and you would choose one to respond to if you wanted to, which I strongly encourage students to write the optional supplement.
Yes, me too. All right. I always get this question for a lot of the other Catholic schools. Can a priest write your letter of recommendation?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll welcome letters of recommendation from anyone. We'll read letters of recommendations from anyone. We require the one from the high school counselor, and then after that, students are welcome to submit any additional letters of recommendations that they want to. If you're just doing it just because it's a priest, then they don't really know you that well, then it might not be necessarily added value. So when I talk about letters of recommendation, we look at them as they're adding another additional perspective that we can't see from any other part of your application. So you really want to make sure that that individual that you're asking can do that in a really efficient manner, an efficient way. So whether that's a priest or whether it's someone else, that's perfectly fine.
Yes, and everyone, Providence doesn't care how Catholic you are. So people like try to tell them that they want to go to church every day. They want you to know that, you have morals and I think, and like community service and all of that, but like you don't need to have every priest or the Pope write you a letter.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be impressive, obviously, if you had the Pope write your letter, for sure. But definitely is more something like whether you're Catholic or not Catholic, for us, our students are coming from so many different backgrounds. I think they're all called though to service, and giving back to that community, kind of like as Jared was talking about with Habitat or Brothers Keeper. There's just so many different ways for our students to kind of engage in those activities. So if that's something that's really important to you, then yeah, that's great. We would love to know it. But if it's not something that is as significant or as a big part of your application, then that's okay. Like, we're not going to hold that against you by any means.
Does Providence still have the community service major?
Yep, public and community service. So we were the first school. We were the first school in the country to develop that major. We also have it as a minor. Once again, I think it's just one of those unique programs that we offer. That's just a really great opportunity for our students.
Speaking of the subject, how many Providence enrolled students come from Catholic high schools?
It's about 33%. About 56% come from public schools. Oh man, what did I just do? That's like 89, I think I just did. And then I think it's like 6 or 7% come from like private independent schools, and then the remaining are a combination of like homeschooled or other versions of like public charters or something like that. They're all kind of grouped together, that last group.
Okay. Patrick, did I hear correctly that financial aid requires both FAFSA and CSS profile?
Yes, you did. So we are a school that does require both, and we do require both those forms. So good point out there when you're looking at all these different schools and you're building your list. I'm sure Jenna mentions this, but I recommend creating like an Excel document, and it says, okay, Providence College, what are your deadlines and what forms are required for both admission review and financial aid review, and then do your next school that you're applying to, and just keep that list so okay, who requires what, because even though we're in the same industry, it definitely is, we're all a little different in terms of what we require and what we do. But we do take into account CSS profile, which takes into account things like equity and multiple homes and and those types of things that are not accounted in the FAFSA.
And do you need those forms to get merit-based aid?
You do not. So you can, if you don't want to apply for need-based financial aid, like the FAFSA for this, you don't have to submit the FAFSA for the CSS profile. You'll still be considered for merit-based scholarships upon applying to just Providence College overall, like through the Common App. You're automatically then reviewed for merit-based scholarships.
Okay, and just a note for everyone, those forms come out October 1st, although maybe this year is different. But typically, and they use your prior year. So if you're starting college in fall 2021, they will use the 2019 year to determine your eligibility. But like everyone's changing their income and their situations, you could always write in and explain things. So I'm sure you'll be getting a lot of those this year.
Yeah, so we have like 5 different appeal forms essentially that are all very specific. So we've dealt with close to 400 for just this freshman class already. So during the review process and things along those lines. So we expect that number will only increase as the years go on right now, for sure.
Can you speak at all to the finance and real estate clubs that connect students with Providence College alumni in the real estate industry? Very specific question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I can speak more generally about it, but then one of the things I can do is I'm going to put my email in the chat box. So if people have questions, they can reach out to me. Whoever asked that question, if you want to reach out independently too, I can find out some more specific things. But what I can say is, like, as of 2019, the blockchain club and the real estate club have been added as like under the whole like finance society as like overarching thing. So this is like a way in which they can continue to develop a better understanding of segments of the finance industry. So they do the Finance Society just launched a student managed portfolio. So they're doing a bunch of different things, whether it comes to like assets, including equity, fixed income, and alternatives. So they are definitely getting some hands-on experiences there. But I know that the School of Business, it does a phenomenal job of connecting with alums, connecting with companies. They have companies that are coming to our campus constantly to recruit our students. So there's a lot of really great resources that are available to them, to our students. So definitely something that they can, form those connections for sure, through different professors or different advisors within the School of Business.
Could I
Jeff, do you
actually
have
add
anything
something
you can add to that?
Can I add something?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I was actually able to network with some alumni of Providence College who work in the real estate industry this past spring. I think actually it's probably like around January, February. So Providence College has a great career center in Slavin 108. And with the Great Career Center comes a bunch of great personnel who work really diligently to get students, the internships and opportunities that they want to succeed after they graduate from Providence College. And one of the great things that they offer is a Friar LinkedIn, which you're able to use to connect with alumni of Providence College. And it was around January when I went into Slavin 108, because I was interested in learning a little bit more about that type of industry, possibly when I graduate from college. And I was actually able to network and connect with an alumni who works in the Boston area in real estate. And I got a summer internship with a real estate company in Boston, but due to the pandemic, it unfortunately got canceled. But besides that, Providence College does offer a bunch of different opportunities and resources for students to really network and engage with alumni of Providence College to really get students those internships and jobs that they want once they graduate from PC.
Yeah, Jared, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you adding in that perspective. I probably also should mention like one of our very big time donors on our campus, I guess. And we have a couple buildings named after him. Like if anyone's been to campus and they've been to the Ruane Center for the Humanities, or now the new Ruane Friar Development Center, which is home to like an athletic facility, has, all state of the art technology and all that stuff and equipment for our student athletes. But Ruane essentially is a really big time real estate developer in the city of Boston, and he has been phenomenal and supportive of Providence College. So he's just one example of, I guess, some of our alums in that field. But as Jared mentioned, there's a lot of other really great resources that are out there as well.
Now, is the business school direct admit?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when you're applying to Providence College overall, if you select a major, we're kind of viewing you within that major that you're applying, as. So if you select, accounting, finance, marketing, or management, those are one of the 4 different majors within our School of Business. We're going to look really closely at like your math sequence in high school. We really want pre-calc as the minimum. Calculus is kind of preferred, but if not, then definitely pre-calculus. We're going to look to see, okay, were you able to add in AP statistics or AP economics and those types of things. So we're going to look for like fit for major, I would say, for us. So if you, apply as one of those majors and you get accepted, then you'll start taking classes in our School of Business right away during your freshman year. If you come in as an undeclared student or as a different major, you do have the ability to switch into the School of Business once you're a student at Providence. But the School of Business is really popular, and about 35% of our freshman class come into our School of Business. So it's definitely a pretty big aspect of the freshman class.
Ben asks, actually, I'll get this both of you. Is housing guaranteed all 4 years? And then I'll throw it over to Jared to just explain as quick as you can about housing.
Yeah,
Sure.
so
well, let me just, Jared, real quick. Housing's not guaranteed for all 4 years. It's guaranteed for your first 3 years, and actually will be required most likely. The pandemic's kind of thrown some things for a loop, but typically freshman, sophomore, and junior year, you would be living on campus. And then senior year, we have the ability for seniors to live on campus if they want to, but about half of our senior class chooses to move off campus. Our off-campus housing, though, is directly across the street from our school. So it's all within walking distance, which I think is really important to note. because it's not like you're living in the downtown city of Providence and having to commute into our campus or anything like that. You were literally walking across the street to those, those houses, senior year. So now, Jared, you can kind of go through your housing spiel.
I was just going to add, what's really great about coming in as a freshman at Providence College is that freshmen will be living in dorms surrounded by all other freshmen. The exceptions to those would be for males, St. Joe's Hall, which has half freshmen, half sophomores. And for females, it'd be, I think this year it's Mar Hall still, which is half females, half freshmen females, half sophomore females. So what's really great about being in dorm buildings surrounded by other freshmen is that, everyone's in the same boat and experiencing the same things for the first time. I know I met some of my best friends living on my floor. We all took Civ together, and I didn't know them initially that we were all in the same Civ class, but through, your RA meetings, you really get to meet a bunch of different people on your floor, and the RAs really get everyone engaged with one another and really make sure everyone is cooperative and really respectful of one another. So I think that's really great that no matter where you are living as a freshman, you're going to be surrounded by other freshmen in the same boat as you, experiencing the same things as you for the first time. So I feel like that really does help with the nerves and a little bit of the anxiousness coming in to college as a freshman. And for me, it really was nice to be able to know that, above me, below me, and to both sides of me, I was living with all freshmen. So I really like that aspect of this, being a resident my freshman year.
Great. This question should be pretty simple for Patrick. I've heard that if you don't apply early action or early decision, you won't get in. Is that true?
No, that is not true by any means. I think when you look at the statistics and everything along those lines, majority of our students are applying through early action, and they tend to be our most competitive academic students because they're applying to multiple schools early action, and those are the students who believe their first 3 years of their high school career are true representation of who they are. So I think when you look at the pool of students who are applying to early action, you have students who it's the most applications we receive, and it typically tends to be the highest academically achieving students. But that doesn't mean that if you apply regular decision, there's no chance of you getting in, right? Like if you're if you're a highly achieving student, you apply regular decision, then that's a great thing, and we obviously want that. I think there's just been this trend in higher education for moving this process earlier and earlier every single year. So we've kind of seen this this natural growth of more and more students applying through early action for sure. When you look at early decision, yes, our acceptance rate for early decision is very high. We're in 85% or 80 or 85% probably for students who are, it's 80% actually for students who, for acceptance rate for early decision. Whereas our overall acceptance rate is normally around 49 to 50%. But once again, early decision is less than 500 students that apply early decision every year. And it's students who are making their commitment to Providence College, saying that if you accept me, I will be coming. So that's a much different pool than, say, 6,500 students applying through early action, or 4,000 or 4,500 applying through regular decision.
Great.
Oh, I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I know people have a lot of questions about that always, and Patrick left his email there. So if you guys have any specific questions about what plan's best for you, then definitely send them his way. Any final remarks? I know you're both Providence. Well, Patrick, you graduated. Jared, you're still there. So I know you both not only work for the school, but have attended the school or attend now. So any just final remarks about what makes the school so special and why students should apply?
Jared, I'll let you go first.
Okay. I definitely sound like a broken record when I talk about this, but the community feel that you really get the moment you step out of the car at Providence College is unlike any other school. And I stand by that strongly. I know for me, when I came to Providence that very first time, it's a typical winter New England day. It was snowy, 30 degrees, a little bit rainy, slushy, and I still instantly fell in love with the campus and just really seeing everyone engaging with one another and interacting, and everyone just seemed so happy to be there. That was the one thing that stuck out to me about Providence College that I didn't really get at other schools. And that same sense of community that I felt that very first time I stepped onto campus for the first time has reigned true this whole 2 years I've been at PC so far. So the community at Providence College is really unlike anywhere that you'll experience. And I know for me, I'm always wearing Providence College clothes. And whenever I'm out at home and I run into a Providence College alumni, they'll come right up to me and ask me, oh, like, do you go to Providence College? Like, I went there back in like, I don't know, like 84 or something like that. Like, I absolutely love that school. So I just really goes to show that even like people who attended Providence College like long ago are still so passionate about the school, and that stays true to absolutely anyone that you'll meet who went to PC. So the community at PC is definitely stronger than most places that like I've ever been. I absolutely love it there.
Perfect. Well, Jared, I definitely think you did a really nice job talking about that aspect. I think, my last parting words is, for those rising seniors, you had a lot to deal with, at the end of your junior year and going into senior year. And there's a lot of angst and anxiety, I think, surrounding this whole college search and this whole college process. So, I give you a lot of credit for even taking the time to joining us tonight and listening in on Providence College. I appreciate the fact that, you're interested and you wanted to do this. I selfishly want to plug a little bit of some of the different opportunities you can continue to engage with Providence. We have a bunch of different virtual options, whether they're interviews, info sessions. We also have some different webinars that are happening. Some are a little bit more specific to, like, say, studying business at Providence or studying the fine arts. We also have more like service-based things that are, and what I mean by service is more of talking about the college essay. Here's some tips and tricks. We're doing a mock case studies. So we're reviewing different applications and showing you kind of behind the scenes look at what we look at in a review process. We're doing one on interviews. So there's, we're hosting a virtual open house in August. So there's ways in which you can continue to engage if you're interested. So hopefully, even if you haven't been able to visit campus, you can take our virtual tour and kind of see all the amazing transformation that our campus has had, that really reflects back on that positive sense of community that kind of Jared was talking about. So obviously, I'm just grateful that you guys gave us the hour to kind of talk and touch a little bit about Providence College and how meaningful it is, not only to myself, but to Jared and everyone else that has kind of engaged at PC.
Awesome. Yeah, and I too want to plug some stuff. Actually, in 2 hours, I'm doing the second part of my heading off to college presentation. It's on my Instagram page at Get Me Into College. We're talking about ways to manage stress in college with a licensed clinical social worker. And then things I wish I knew before freshman year, talking to a panel of current college students and recent college graduates. So it's a little bit more designed for kids heading off this fall, but definitely any age can benefit. And then somewhere along here, I have the rest of my Spotlight series. So we're about halfway there, over half of the way there, which means we're half of the way there with summer, which is scary. So Providence is nice. You can see the rest of them here. I am recording these. Hopefully I recorded this one. Yeah, I did. I think so. And I'll send everything out to students that miss it. But thanks, guys, for being here today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I am recording it. Yay. Definitely, check out Providence. They have a lot of different webinars that you guys can do, like Patrick just said, and hopefully you will get to see it in person soon. So
we're just launching campus tours starting next week. Yeah, okay. So in-person campus tours. They're limited, but we're launching them. So we're going to see how it goes for the month of August.
Great. And thanks for getting Jared. I know it was last minute since I'm like the most disorganized person, apparently.
No, it's all good.
Forgot to give you all the information that you needed. Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.